What's going on, everybody? It is that time again, the Sooners Illustrated Podcast, episode 214 on this Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. We have shifted into October now on the show. Josh Callaway, Collin Kennedy with you on a Thursday. On Thursdays, we talk recruiting. Got a lot to talk about. Oklahoma's been very busy. Picked up a 2026 commit last night. Picked up a 2027 commit earlier this week. That class off to a really hot start. Collin and I will talk about that a little bit as the rankings update came out this week for 24/7 Sports, kind of put it all into context. Another home game weekend coming up with Kent State coming into town. Who are the visitors to know? And, of course, we'll get Collin's thoughts on the game as well. Michael Hawkins stepping back in at quarterback for the injured John McCreary. We'll get all of Collin's thoughts for this weekend's game as well on the back end. So a nice Thursday show for you going into another home game weekend. A reminder as we get started, as always, you can subscribe to Sooners Illustrated at oklahoma.247sports.com. Use the promo code SoonersPod60 for 60% off a VIP membership for a year right now to Sooners Illustrated. Use that promo code for listening on pod, all one word. SoonersPod60 gets you 60% off a year subscription, not just to Sooners Illustrated, but to the entire 24/7 Sports Network. So be sure to take advantage of that. Busy times, lots of recruiting news, team intel, obviously just team content in general as we get into the meat and potatoes of this season, the gauntlet coming up. Going to be a fun rest of the season and be a part of the community with us over at Sooners Illustrated. Collin. Recruiting's been going pretty good for Oklahoma. It's been hot, especially in 2027, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But let's first start with 2026. Last night, Brayden Allen, come aboard, my friend. The Lafayette, Louisiana product for Tulane commit, decommitted from the Green Wave, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago or so, sometime in the recent future. It all blurs together. He decommits. He commits to Oklahoma last night. We've been talking about him for a while, Collin. Obviously, he came into town. He was a visitor to Oklahoma. He went and checked out Colorado last weekend. Obviously, at the end of the day, Oklahoma wins out. They bring him in. He's the third receiver in this class to go with Daniel Odom and Xavier Okafulaweze. For you, Collin, Brayden Allen, what's the pickup mean? How does he fit into this class? And Emmett Jones, again, it was a kind of a conversation point in the summer. Like, man, they don't have any receivers. Kind of landing on his feet pretty nicely here when you loop in Odom and Okafulaweze and now Brayden Allen. This has kind of turned into a nice little crop of guys here in 2026 for Emmett Jones.
Really like the get, really kind of like rounds out the receiver haul pretty nicely because I think Brayden Allen is a pretty complete overall player as a wide receiver. And you like the fact that you have this guy to go with a Daniel Odom, another pretty well-rounded wide out, and then Xavier, who is just big, long, athletic, can make some freakish plays on the perimeter. Just a really good group for Emmett Jones. And Brayden Allen, a big reason why he ends up choosing to commit to Oklahoma is that relationship with Emmett Jones. And I don't think this was always the foregone conclusion. I mean, I think that he took the OV in Norman, still committed to Tulane. We talked about it. It's always important to kind of set the table. Pulling any state of Louisiana recruit away from a in-state based program is difficult enough, and him being committed to a really good Tulane program. I went and watched that team over the weekend in person in Tulsa. Man, John Summerall's got them rolling. And on top of that challenge, pulling Brayden Allen away from Tulane, Colorado really loomed large here. And I think that Oklahoma impressed on the OV, but he left and still made it clear he wanted to explore some options. He was going to give Tulane time of day, and he really wanted to hear the pitch from Colorado. And I think the Buffs kind of made this one interesting. They battled BYU, obviously. That atmosphere definitely made its mark. But in the end, I think that Brayden Allen left campus in Boulder, and after a little bit, it was clear that Oklahoma was going to end up being his final choice. So really like to get here. Like I mentioned, not only is this kind of a complete wide receiver, I do think this is someone who kind of has the upward arrow in terms of trajectory. I mean, he's got really solid triple jump background. Yeah. He can kind of make the acrobatic catch. You see that from the jump context play out onto the field. And I think that he is continuing to round out as a player who, honestly, I think this guy with a few more game outings, some tape under his belt and a little bit more context, like this guy could see a little bit of a jump in the rankings. I'm not going to rule that out. So I like the get for Emmett Jones at Oklahoma, and I think that Brayden Allen really liked the idea of playing in the SEC with a program and a staff like the Sooners have.
So Allen, the 20th commit in the class, they sit right outside that top 20, right about the top 20 in the team rankings. You mentioned round out. I guess the natural question is, does this have an impact on Davian Gross in any capacity? Does it? I mean, does it influence anything on that front? Could you still see Oklahoma making a push there? Is it less likely now? Any impact on that? Because I think that would be the next natural question for Oklahoma fans, wondering if they could still maybe flip him away from Florida, especially after the rough start for the
well, we'll expound on this a little bit more later in the show, a little teaser there, but I do think that whether it's Davian Gross or a couple other names I'm getting ready to talk about here in a second, OU is now going to essentially look at the landscape and go, I mean, we'll take one more wide receiver, but we don't necessarily need to press. And I think that is a really strong position of leverage for OU, especially when you consider some of the names that they could pursue moving forward at the receiver position in 2026. They're looking at a couple, maybe even a few potential flip targets at the receiver spot in 26. And I think Davian Gross, obviously chief among them, that's the biggest name. But we know that Florida, he went there for a reason. Obviously, he likes the staff and Gainesville and everything, but also there is a negotiation component to that. And I think that Oklahoma now getting someone like a Brayden Allen doesn't need to press from a recruiting standpoint or honestly a financial standpoint. You've got the guys that you probably needed. You can potentially go out and get a guy that you want. And there are a few other options beyond a Davian Gross. So if anything, I think that Brayden Allen puts OU in an even more advantageous position with guys like Gross and others moving forward. And I think that's another reason why Oklahoma fans should be really excited about this addition.
Very interesting. So like I said, Allen, 20th guy in the boat in 2026. Classes come together pretty nicely, all things considered. And we'll continue to monitor that as we get closer to signing day, a couple months or so from a lot of these guys signing on with Oklahoma in December. From 2026 to 2027, Collin, this class is off to a great start. We'll kind of put, obviously it's super early, but we'll kind of round out the group a little bit. We talked last week about Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny jumping in. Another one this week in the 4-star cornerback, Mikhail McCreary from down in Texas in San Antonio. 4-star guy, top 200, top 175-ish player in the class, really talented. CK, tell us a little bit about Mikhail McCreary and what it means to get him in the boat. First defensive guy in the class in 2027. Seems like a really nice get on paper here. Tell us a little bit more about him and what this pickup means for Jay Valai in that cornerback room, getting a guy like this in there.
Yeah, it just rose to number 178 in the country in the updated 2027 rankings from 24/7 Sports, was at 190. So pretty much a consensus top 200 guy, but now hovering around that top 175 mark. And it's easy to see why. I think that the thing you have to start with in terms of Mikhail McCreary and the fit, incredible off the field character. I mean, this guy, Josh, if we ever got him on the pod, we would want to talk to this dude for about an hour. He's really outgoing, boisterous personality, very good fit in terms of the off-field stuff for OU. And I think when you talk about someone like Jay Valai, a corners coach who is outgoing, very outspoken, Mikhail McCreary, I mean, very similar personalities almost. And I think that this is the kind of guy that Oklahoma loves to have on the roster and in the cornerback room because he's a really good representation of the program. But then on top of that, I think he is a perfect fit beyond the character stuff. I think that we're talking about a corner who has legitimate 3-position versatility. I think he can play on the outside. I think he can play slot corner, so he can move into cheetah on passing downs. I think he can move back to safety. So I think Mikhail McCreary occupies, honestly, like a 1.5 scholarship spot, if you will, because I think Oklahoma's in a really good spot with a lot of corners in 2027, if I'm honest with you, like a lot of them. And if OU were to add multiple highly rated corners, I think Mikhail McCreary, from both his mentality and then skill set, could play safety if they needed him to. He could move back there. He could play in the slot. And I think that puts OU, again, you want to find advantageous positions in the recruiting sphere, and Mikhail McCreary gives you that. This guy's about 6 foot to 6'1" plus length, pretty adequate track and field numbers, but I do think that the way that he plays, just a really good football player. That's kind of the best way to describe Mikhail McCreary. Really good football player, has constantly impressed us in terms of like some of the combine settings we've seen him at in person, whether it was, I want to say, Under Armour Houston, the National Combine in San Antonio. Like every exposure point this guy had in front of us, he delivered. And I think this is just a player who a lot of us believe in. Obviously, the scouting team backed that up with giving him a boost in the rankings, but just so much about the way that he plays, the way that he carries himself, makes Mikhail McCreary a perfect fit for OUU. And I think the Sooners rightfully thrilled to get this guy as their first defensive pledge in 27.
Yeah, hard not to like what Jay Valai has got kind of working right now. I mean, you talk about the year that obviously Eli Bowen had last year, this season to start for Cortland Guillory and all the excitement there, and all these other young guys like Newcomb, who obviously is battling injury right now, but one they're really excited about, Devon Jordan, and then obviously Derek Johnson in the next class, and you add McCreary in 27. It's like that's kind of a position that's a little under the radar in terms of kind of the, I think everywhere else in the defense is so exciting. Defensive line, linebackers, even safeties we talk about all the time, that it's kind of easy to get overlooked a little. That Jay Valai kind of has that thing rolling a little bit. A lot of talent there and a lot more on the way. And certainly a great start in 27 with McCreary, and you mentioned in good position for some other guys in that class. So kind of a lot to be excited about at that position, both the current and the future of it. Look at this class a little bit, Collin, as kind of a whole, and it's massively early. I mean, you fully acknowledge that. It's October of 2025 right now. I mean, we're talking over a year until these guys sign. But they've got 5 guys committed right now, and it's quite a group. Obviously, we talked about Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny last week, Jamar DeZern, McCreary, Luke Wilson now obviously was the first one in the boat. Kind of looping in, you mentioned the rankings update. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts, just any takeaways you had there, but kind of all in one encompassing question here. The class is number 1 right now. And again, it's crazy early. I fully acknowledge that. But in the 24/7 Sports team composite ranking, Oklahoma's on top right now, the number 1 group. It just kind of shows you how good this start is with these first 5 guys. The takeaways from the rankings for you, but then also just your general thoughts on this class right now. It feels like it's off to a really, really good start, but you would know better than I. How good of a start is this really? Because it feels like it's great.
I think it's pretty elite in terms of the way that they've not only
feels that way
surged in the rankings or whatever else, but I love the fact that a lot of this class is made up of pretty highly rated premium position players, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about guys like Caden Penny, who just rose from number 51 all the way into the top 15 in the country at number 14 nationally, the new number 1 player in the state of Oklahoma. Josh, I was watching Caden Penny lead Bixby in the trenches against Jenks last Friday night.
Right.
And I was blown away. I mean, blown away seeing him in person. I have started to formulate this theory that Caden Penny might be the most truly dominant two-way player in the state of Oklahoma right now. When you're talking about a guy that's playing not 1, but 2 premium positions in the line of scrimmage and altering the outcome of games. I know he's not going to show up in the stat sheet like a wide receiver DB, but Caden Penny, to get that guy into the boat and then for him to obviously rise in the ranks, got to keep that kind of talent home. And the same thing with Cooper Hackett, right? He's at number 29 nationally, still hovering in that 5-star territory range. I think that the tape that he's starting to put together at the start of the season 2 going to keep him in the mix for that 5th star. And from offensive line to true potential left tackle ability, even if Cooper Hackett's playing right tackle in the future, I mean, to have 2 offensive linemen that highly rated in 5-star territory already committed for Oklahoma, it's an outstanding start, but you build from that. We just talked about Mikhail McCreary. You have a 4-star corner already in the class. You got Damari DeZern, a 4-star wide receiver. And honestly, in today's modern day of football, Josh, you and I both know wide receivers a premium position now. Like you got to have good wide receivers to go win games. The days of kind of like discounting that position maybe a little bit over. And while wide receivers are plentiful, to get a guy like DeZern with world-class speed I know people get offended about world class, but the guy is a burner on the football field, and you love the ability to go and get a guy like that early. And then they round it out with a guy like Luke Wilson, another offensive tackle. Like, it's a really strong start, but obviously the rating is one thing. The fact that you're getting guys at spots on the field where there are highly coveted players, I mean, that's a big deal. Now, I did want to hear if you had anything in terms about the rankings update, specifically 24/7 Sports. This thing, for me, was kind of what stood out the most. Josh, you cover OK Preps as much as anybody.
Yeah.
The state of Oklahoma in this update, 5 members of the 2027 top 247 now. That's tied with the likes of states of Ohio and Maryland. If you're doing something like the state of Ohio and in the DMV region, you know you're pretty good. Not only 5 in the top 247, 6 4-star players already in the state of Oklahoma. That jumped off the page for me, man. It speaks to the talent that we're getting to watch in the Sooner State every week.
No, it's a state, the investment has been there in high school football in Oklahoma, and you're seeing it play out. I've had a couple of classes here recently with a lot of talent, and that doesn't include, you would know, does that include Joseph Graves or no? Is he considered Florida?
He's considered, yeah, man.
There's another guy, Booker T. Watson, who obviously is at IMG now, a la, a David Stone or whatever. Like, he's in-state-ish. Doesn't really go in as in-state, but he kind of half in-state. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's impressive. And Oklahoma to lock a couple of them down already on that offensive line with Hackett and Penny. I mean, Brent Venables just talked about it this week at his weekly press conference. The belief, because obviously with the bye week, Brent and some other staff members were able to get up into the Tulsa area and see some of these guys. They were at that Bixby Jinx game. I think they also made it over to Broken Arrow, like, to see some of these guys. And he talked about on Tuesday, like, the ability to build a championship program is there from the talent within state. And it's cool to hear, him say that. And it's true. I mean, you look at the state, the talent that the state is producing right now, it's exciting. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, I think that for the state of Oklahoma to kind of be ascending or peaking in terms of in-state talent at the same time that Oklahoma is really establishing itself as an SEC program, what more could you ask for,
Yeah.
And the fact that Oklahoma, off the heels of a 2026 cycle where there wasn't as much names in the top 247, there weren't as many recruits being recruited by OU. Now in 2027, not only are all these guys highly ranked in-state players, a lot of them are being pursued by OU already. And that's just kind of the top 247 crew. We have yet to even trickle down into some of the other highly rated players in the Sooner State who are also kind of in that 88, 89 3-star range, which, as we've talked about, it's a big deal if you get up there.
Yeah.
Especially in a state like Oklahoma. And then the other thing for me too is it's like, off the heels of that, the fact that Texas in 2027, I mean, Red River recruiting sets up for Oklahoma really well in this cycle. We knew, I talked about this in the past, anyone who lives down here in my neck of the woods knew that 2027 was going to be truly special in terms of in-state talent in the Lone Star State. But the fact that not only does Texas lead the country in 2027 top 247 members with 36, that's 10 more than the next closest state. So for Oklahoma, if you're looking at that, you're looking at your chops, man.
Yeah.
To not only recruit a ton of talent in your backyard, but to go right into your coveted recruiting background and to have that amount of talent just a couple hours away.
Yeah.
2027 continues to set up for OU to build on the success that it's already having. I think if you're a fan of OU recruiting, like 27 should really be the cycle that you're dialed in on, because it's going to be a lot of fun to cover.
It's exciting. And, we talk about it a lot, but it's just kind of an affirmation, and it's really kind of almost a proof of concept in that we talked about it all summer, really, when it comes to that 26 class, how hard it was to win battles when there's so much uncertainty. Look what happens when you come out and you start winning some games, and it looks like things have stabilized themselves. Oklahoma's in the top 5 of the AP poll right now. They've got 2 big wins under their belt. They look like a playoff contender, maybe an SEC contender. Like, this staff can recruit. Brent Venables and this staff, they can get players, but even the best recruiters, it's tough whenever you're coming off a 6-win season and the future is wobbly. And so you come out and you start winning some games, man. It's set up for Oklahoma to put together, if they can have the season that looks like they're going to have, I don't think it would shock anyone if this class ends up, I mean, who knows? I mean, top 10 certainly is on the table, but, maybe high, maybe top 5. I mean, that's all possible, right? I mean, especially with the start they're off to, if they can keep winning games. And so it's encouraging. It's exciting to see. If you're an Oklahoma fan right now, you're feeling like we're set up. If we can have the season it looks like we're capable of having, to really kind of get this thing rolling a bit, which is exciting, obviously.
Yeah.
There you have it.
I think that I got a really good question yesterday in the VIP chat that we do for the subscribers. And one of our subs asked me, hey, obviously it's a really good start in 27 for OU on the offensive line with 3 guys committed,
right?
Which certainly helps when you're getting guys at a premium position. But what other like standout spots is Oklahoma in a really good position for? And I think the thing that we don't talk about a lot, Josh, honestly, is if you're going to have a highly rated class, you've got to get a ton of blue chip talent. But it also really helps in terms of staying power if you're able to land blue chip talents at premium positions, because a lot of those guys are going to stay highly rated with the NFL draft context as the background of the rankings process, right? And so,
yeah, right.
Kind of what you're talking about, like it sets up well for Oklahoma to get a ton of guys that could put OU in, potentially in contention for a top 5 class. I answered that question and was like, yeah, I mean, they're still in a good spot for a lot of offensive linemen, but I also think they're towards the top for like 3, 4, 5 blue chip corners, which you love. I think that they're in a really good spot with a number of DBs and defensive linemen, if I'm honest with you. And I think the fact that Oklahoma, there's a ton of talent in the region at highly coveted positions. Those positions are going to be rated highly because of the way the rankings process is handled. Oklahoma could benefit from this cycle in numerous ways in the short term and long term. And it sets up, especially if OU, like you mentioned, can continue to deliver on expectation for the Sooners to look, I mean, night and day compared to the start of the Brent Venables tenure. And even then they were recruiting well. Right. And I'm fascinated to see how this thing plays out, especially if OU can keep winning and then turning those wins into wins on the recruiting trail.
No doubt, a lot to be excited about. Spinning it forward into this coming weekend, also I'll get your thoughts on the game itself. Another home game weekend. What are some of the names to know that are going to be in town? Obviously, it's not a Michigan or an Auburn where it's a huge setting, and it's one of the biggest games in America on that given weekend, arguably the biggest in both of those cases. But it is still another home game weekend. They're wearing the throwback uniforms. They're going to honor the 1985 National Championship team as well. You'd imagine with all the excitement, it will still be a sellout crowd. So it'll be a great environment, as always. There's a lot of excitement about this team right now. For you, Collin, I mean, some of the visitors to note that for this weekend, Oklahoma are going to keep this thing rolling a little bit. What are the names that stand out to you that fans tuned in should be aware of that are going to be in town this coming weekend for Kent State on Saturday?
I'm going to be real complimentary here. We're going to go one offensive player in 2026, and we're going to go one defensive player in 2027. So let's go. Football. Yeah, we love ball over here, man. Yeah. Starting in 26. So there were rumors flying around behind the scenes that Oklahoma was potentially going to get a few 2026 targets committed to other programs in town for this game. Now, speaking to some sources this morning, it's clear there's still a lot of shuffling out there. But the guy that I think is going to show up this weekend that really kind of perks your eyebrows up is Milan Paris, 4-star wide receiver.
Yeah. Committed
to Iowa State. This is someone who OU has been monitoring for a long time. But Oklahoma recently offered back into middle of September, depending on how you view it. The relationship, though, has been building behind the scenes between Paris and Emmett Jones and Oklahoma for a while. So now that the offer is officially in, I know Iowa State's been playing well this year, so prying him away from the Cyclones, obviously a difficult task. But the other thing that Oklahoma's going to battle here, too, is Milan is adding offers seemingly every other day. I believe he just picked up Oregon the other day. Like, this is that type of ascending player.
Yeah.
But I think if you're Oklahoma, you're really excited about the prospects of getting Milan Paris potentially on campus this weekend because you're going to win the game. You're going to get to showcase the 85 championship squad. The fans are still going to show out. There's no worry about that at a place like Oklahoma. But also, this is kind of the beginning of the, all right, who wants a wide receiver spot? Because I think that whether it's Milan Paris, who OU is actively pursuing while committed to Iowa State, Davian Gross, who Josh had brought up at the start of the show, committed to Florida. We know what's going on with the Gators, and Florida plays Texas this weekend. Who knows what we're talking about next week?
Yeah.
And then I think that Oklahoma's also circling back around to Jaden Pettit, the 4-star wide receiver who committed to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And that trio of names, starting with Milan Paris coming up this weekend, all kind of feels like the core that OU is going to look at and say, hey, we'll take you, but we can't take all of you if you want to come. And so I don't know how Oklahoma's going to handle this. I could obviously project, but we're not going to really know for sure, I think, until out of this weekend if Milan Paris does show in Norman. And if he does, man, now we're really going to start seeing OU play some games because they can get a little picky. They can get choosy. And those are some big names on the board, right? Every single receiver I just named, including Paris, a 4-star wide receiver. And so coming up this weekend for Milan Paris and OU, the start of an interesting dynamic in 2026. And then quickly on the back end here, in 2027, Gabriel Osborne Jr., the cornerback out of Mustang, just went from an initial rating of an 88 3-star in 2027 to the number 75 overall player in the country. I mean,
quite a leap. Yeah.
This dude's at Mustang High, balling out. It's like, oh, this is a good player. And then bang, skyrockets. Top 75 in the country, man, which,
yeah.
Hey, I was talking about this with some folks the other day. It makes a ton of sense. We're talking about a 6'2", 6'3", 180-pound corner with multi-sport background, basketball context, standout player on the hardwood, in-state recruit, the weight, the frame, everything checks out. All character stuff is a green flag. So it's all of a sudden, you got a top 75 player in the country coming to campus for the Kent State game, and he's an in-state guy. He's in your backyard. What does that drive from Norman to Mustang? All of a few minutes at this point.
Yeah, so. Not far.
I know it's the Kent State game, but between those two names and then a few others who could or could not show, all of a sudden it's hey, intriguing weekend for the Sooners coming up against Kent State.
Gonna be, definitely interesting. You got the throwback uniforms. It's still got a little excitement around it. It just helps the fact that they're winning, right? They're in the top 5. So anytime you're playing anyone, there's going to be a little something to it because the team's playing well and the fans are excited and everything like that. So definitely some interesting names to note. Obviously, as always, you can subscribe over to Sooners Illustrated, get a better idea of what the weekend looks like. And Collin will be obviously updates coming out of the weekend. He always does a phenomenal job with that. So more to come on that front. A lot to be looking forward to this weekend, even though it is a game that doesn't seem overly attractive on paper because Oklahoma is such a gigantic favorite in this game. And I did want to get your thoughts, Collin, on the game itself. Obviously, again, Oklahoma's a huge favorite. Kent State is considered one of the worst teams in FBS. It's a team that's already gotten blown out by Texas Tech and Florida State this year, so they've kind of they're making the rounds. They're getting some paychecks. Kent State has this season so far. They'll be in town this weekend, this Saturday afternoon. For you, obviously, definitely I'll get your pick on the game, but I guess just what are you watching for? Are you just excited to see Michael Hawkins? Is it, Giovanni Gibson and Eli Bowen? What intrigues you the most this weekend as far as what you're going to be actually trying to learn, if anything, from this game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think I could go the easy route, the headline route too, which you guys will touch on at length in the game preview pod. So the folks out there, stay tuned for that. Tom, James, and Josh will probably tackle all the Michael Hawkins stuff, Giovanni Gibson, Eli Bowen. For me, just trying to take a different angle so it's not redundant. I'm keeping my eye on the offensive line this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm keeping my eye on the backs. I really don't have anything of mine, honestly, on the defense. It's like they're going to play well. So,
yeah.
Shocker. But I think it starts for me with the offensive line. What is the health situation? Off the heels of that, if they are healthy or they're playing different players, can you get a little bit of push in the ground game? Are we going to see this offensive line take the next step in terms of cohesiveness, chemistry, and aggression as run blockers? And then the backs. I know that the easy route to take here is Jaden Ott, and understandably so. I mean, I was thinking about this morning, and I don't know how I'm going to write this without sounding like an idiot, but the meme where it's the guy, the cartoon character holding the stick, and there's like something on the ground. It's like, come on, do something.
Oh, do something. Yeah.
Come on, do something. Like, come on, Jay, now do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
no, I'm with you.
That's kind of where I'm at going into this one. Like, do something. Just do something against Kent State. And even if Jay Knott doesn't, let's see these running backs have a good game. Let's see Torrey Blaylock kind of put on another Temple-like display, because I thought he played really well in that one. Get that confidence going so that if needed, Blaylock, again, this guy I think we're forgetting is a true freshman, might need to be relied on against Texas. So let's get that young man going before the Red River.
Sure.
Like an Xavier Robinson, like let's get him the ball. Let's see Oklahoma get that guy going, because there were moments last year where it was like, gosh, dude, that's a freight train coming down the tracks. And now, I'd like to see maybe that type of running style, that juice return against the Golden Flashes. But I think for me, this thing is all about, all right, I know you don't want to take too much away from it, but what can the offensive line and the backs do in terms of getting the ground game going against Kent State? And if they can showcase something, they can put something on display in terms of running ability, you have to at least like what you're taking away from this one coming this weekend.
What's the final score prediction for you? Oklahoma, obviously north of a 6-touchdown favorite this weekend. So even without John Mateer, still fully expected to win this by quite a lot. Where are you landing on an actual final score, though? How hot does this offense go with Michael Hawkins under center? Really, I guess is at the end of the day the question.
Well, so what is the final number? Do we know the current spread right now? Do you have it off the top of your head?
Yeah, I just looked at it. 45.5 is what I have currently.
That makes sense. I think that Michael Hawkins he's going to be just fine. I would love to offer more, but I really just don't think that I'm worried about Michael Hawkins at all. I don't think there's any reason to be worried. I mean, again, Kent State. So, and the defense is going to play well. I would probably slap this one at about 49-3. Now, let's have some fun. I've been calling for this. Can we just get Whit Neubauer in the game? Can I please see some Whit Neubauer? Like,
hey man, right now, I mean, depending on obviously where you stand on the Mateer thing, and there's a lot of optimism he might play next weekend in Dallas, or hope at least. You're one hit away right now from Whit Neubauer being your guy if John is not ready. So it might not be the worst thing to get him out there and at least give him a drive or two to get him something just in case doomsday scenario happens and he has to get thrown into the Cotton Bowl next weekend. It might not be the worst thing.
Look, man, I was interested in this guy when he was in the portal, and then you kept putting out those social media clips, and I was like, then put him in the game. Like, what are we doing?
He can sling it.
Like, and people forget, man, like he was a first or second year player, not even supposed to be the guy. And last year called in late into the season, and he leads Mercer to the FCS playoffs. Like, man, let's see Whit Neubauer toss the rock a little bit. I'm not going to be, making too much of this game. I think that's a lot of wasted energy. But I'll be fired up if we get a little Whit Neubauer flavor against Kent State. So if he gets in there and spills the pill a little bit, give me OU to beat Kent State like 49-3.
Gonna be, interesting. I mean, it's always, it's a weird spot in the season. Something we're trying to get used to. SEC having these weird non-con games later in the year. Maybe that goes away a little bit with the 9-game schedule starting next year. But we did this last year with Maine, which was much later. That was in the middle of November. But nevertheless, opportunity to see this team and a good opportunity to obviously get Michael Hawkins a lot of run as the starter. And we'll see what happens this weekend. Obviously, like we kind of referenced, Tom, James, myself, have the game preview show on Friday. We'll kind of break down everything we're watching for, the headlines, the storylines, all that good stuff in the game preview on Friday. But I think that's about it for us for today. Collin, appreciate you as always. Safe travels wherever you're heading over the next couple of days on the high school football circuit. I'll be doing the same up here in Oklahoma. And we're moving along, man. We're getting into the middle of the season, right? It's October. It's October, dude. It's going to be playoffs, stuff, all that before you know it.
I don't like how fast we're moving.
It moves, man. Every time it moves.
It's also weird, too, because it really feels like between the bye week and then this Kent State week, it really kind of feels like we've hit a slow patch. Like
we have. This is the thing is that it feels like it's moving and it's like, man, it's October already. But at the same time, when I look at OU's schedule, there are so many games left. Like I was thinking, man, even after this weekend, there's still 3 home games. And we haven't even gone on the road in the SEC yet. And the Texas game is next weekend. Like, there's still a lot of meat on the bone here. Like, it feels like there's still a lot of ground to cover on this season. So, still a lot to be excited about.
This kind of feels like that last part of the track before the finish line where it's like, all right, you got the bye week.
Yeah.
Got to round it out with Kent State. But then, boom, we're going Red River, SEC game. I mean, it's going to be fun the rest of the way. I mean, every time we get on the phone to plan out the pod and we start talking like, all right, we're going to do this for this game and maybe we'll go to this. And it's like, just love football, man. It's that time of the year. I know we may not be watching some great ball this weekend, but it's still ball. I'm never going to take it for granted. And we're going to see a whole lot more over the next few weeks.
No doubt. It's exciting into October. Great sports month. Fall starts to happen. So it's to cool off a little bit, although it won't this weekend. I think it's going to be pretty hot up here in Oklahoma. But we're excited. It's getting into the great part of the year, and we'll be back next week, obviously, for what is a holiday of a week around here with the Texas week, and we'll get into everything next week, setting the table for that game on the recruiting side, everything to know going into the Red River rivalry next week. That'll be me and Collin next Thursday. Game preview tomorrow, Friday. Tom, James, myself setting the table. Obviously, full coverage from Norman on Saturday, and we'll get back next week for what's one of the biggest weeks of the year around here with Oklahoma Texas week starting next Monday on the pod. That's it for now. For Collin Kennedy, I'm Josh Callaway signing off. We'll see you next time right back here as always on Sooners Illustrated.